On this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, we spike the eggnog. It is Christmas time, and the Houndsman XP team is coming together to wish you all a Merry Christmas. We are going to recap the year 2021, both from a personal standpoint, talk about our hound adventures this year, and we're going to talk about the growth and the highlights of Houndsman XP. It's all in here, folks. Lauren talks about falling off of horses and truck stop showers. Seth goes in detail about some diseases that are threatening the rabbit and hare populations of the United States. And Josh and I get into two spirited discussions about competition dogs versus big game dogs and cold-nosed dogs versus hot-nosed dogs. You are not going to want to miss that discussion. This is a great episode full of a lot of fun. I'm not going to drag this pre-roll out anymore. The Old South Dog Box is absolutely rocking on this one. Let's get the tailgate down. It's time to dump the box. All right, I'm not sure we're going to put all this on the podcast, but the recording is rolling. And I thought we'd just go through and recap the year and just have a online Christmas party here. A Houndsman XP online Christmas party. What do you think?
Love it.
I like it. I mean, these are my friends right here that I'm looking at. So
it's been too long.
We're probably your only friends.
I was just going to say probably my only ones. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I can tell you that with the Christmas holidays and everything, we're going to take a little hiatus next week after just give everybody a break on work, man. Just let's get out and hunt and have a good time the next couple weeks. But so we won't air anything next week, and then we'll be back after the first of the year, and maybe we'll do a New Year's Eve bash or something online and post that. So how's everybody doing?
Good.
Great.
I'm doing good. Yeah.
Minus the crutches. But
yeah.
Good.
What happened to you, Seth?
I was elk hunting, and I'm just not as nimble as I used to be. You know.
Yeah, you just told me I was getting old. You told me I am old. That's
no.
I said did. You're old.
Yeah.
Oh, Josh
I just concurred.
I was raised too country to call my elders disrespectful words like that.
You were raised well, and you do have very, very good manners.
It's the mustache, actually.
And that mustache is, we said it in the pre-show, but it deserves another comment. That is impressive.
It's been about, I trimmed it when I went to Kentucky for my grandma's funeral because it was getting ludicrously long, but I'd say now it's like a good 2.5
you can
inches.
handlebar it.
I am. That's what I'm doing now. But it just takes.
Are you going to sit there and constantly groom the whole time we're on?
You know what?
Record.
All of our fans that have beards know the beard pick is a real problem. Like when you get bored and you just start picking it and playing with it, and then it makes you look like you're some kind of downtown tweaker. And so you got to pick something. And so with the mustache, it gives you this excellent excuse to pick your beard, and at the same time, you're getting that phenomenal 18th century general look. You know what I mean? So at the same time, I'm like, yes, send up the musketeers, and while I'm picking it. So it's a win-win for everybody, really. So.
Considering where
I
you
wouldn't
live,
say
Seth,
everybody.
Yeah.
Considering where you live, Seth, I wouldn't be surprised if, someone might have thought you were a tweaker anyway.
No, I'm way too healthy. And look at these teeth. White, straight, and intact. So
there you go.
100% not.
I had to trim mine up. My goatee was hanging down, and it wasn't very popular here. And besides,
Lauren, you got any
like
facial hair tips while we're all discussing facial hair?
Thankfully, I'm not one of those women that has to struggle with it. Like I don't even have to wax my upper lip. So thank you, genetics. No. I mean, I do like a man with a beard, so that I can get behind that. So
my word.
There you
There
go.
we go. You're
What's
in good
up?
company.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably enough about body waxing anyway. We don't want to get into that whole topic.
Yeah,
But
we're
anyway.
already about 2 minutes deeper into that than we should be.
Yeah. So, hey, I want to get you guys feedback on let's just do some highlights of the year of the most memorable things for 2021 and recap the year and kind of make it a festive Merry Christmas for everybody and let's roll with it. So, who's going first? Lauren's going first.
I raised my hand, sir. It's kind of crazy, Seth. It doesn't feel like it was already a year ago that I was out there, but I came out there like January 6th or something like that.
Yeah.
And we had just to, recap the year starting from the beginning. Seth and I had a really good couple months. I stayed out there for a while.
Yeah, you're like you are a squatter for
I'm
sure.
a cockroach.
It was like 2 months, and she was like, "I'll help you pay my electric bill when I'm there." And I was like, "Nah, dude, don't worry about it." My March electric bill when she was there in February was $155. I was like, when it's normally like 30. You know what I mean? So I was like,
Yeah, so this year when she comes out, bring cash.
No, he's getting paid, that's for sure. Like I felt bad. I should have sent him something, but I had no idea that it was going to be like that. So
if I cared, I would have said something earlier. But yeah, that just made me laugh. I was like, dude, were you running like some kind of grow operation back there or something?
Yeah, my 11-foot camper just really draws the power. Me working from home. And I didn't run my air conditioner a whole lot, but I mean, New Mexico, dude, is awesome. Like, it is so diverse. You get like cool weather, warm weather, like everybody's happy. I was just thinking though, the other day we had a huge storm come through, a huge windstorm and tornadoes and whatever. And I think it was like 60, 70 mile per hour winds. And it got me thinking back to that one night that there were like 40 mile per hour winds that I was dealing with.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We normally don't get bad weather like that. And yeah, that was a really windy day. Oh my gosh. I remember that.
But yeah, so I got to New Mexico and we never really did an episode on it.
Hey, before we get too far down the trail here, since we're talking about weather and it is our Christmas special here, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that there are going to be several people from Northeast Arkansas, Southeast Missouri, through Kentucky and Western Tennessee that are not going to have the same Merry Christmas that they normally have due to all those tornadoes. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but I think if you have an opportunity to reach out and do something for those folks down in that area, this is the right time of year to do that. And
if they need anything, they need to reach out to us too.
Absolutely.
We would love to help and do something for them as long as, we know where to give the help.
Right. That's a huge coon hunting area down through there. A lot of hounds down in that country. So if you guys know of a houndsman out there that's in need, drop us a line, because most houndsmen aren't going to reach out and do it for themselves anyway. So somebody knows somebody down there. And that's just the right thing to do this time, any time of the year, but especially at this time of the year.
Yes, sir.
Great point.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, go ahead, Lauren.
Anyway, so I had a lot of fun down there. Got to trail a bear one day. We were trying line hunting. That didn't work. Dry ground. And, did a lot of coon hunting with Seth. Got to see the dogs run. His dogs run super duper fast. And
We know.
kind of test myself on like my first really big trip across the country to meet people that I've never met before and hunt with them and, make sure I didn't get murdered along the way at truck stops and wherever else. And
you took
camping on the mountain.
Was that on the Colorado trip or the New Mexico trip where you stopped at the truck stop and took a shower?
That was Colorado.
Oh, okay. We won't jump ahead then.
Yeah.
Statistically much safer.
Colorado. I don't know. Any truck stop. But no, so I learned a lot about myself and what I need to bring on trips and what I can manage and how to deal with the dogs and, stuff that can go wrong. And So that was cool. January, February, left mid-March, and yeah.
When was your Colorado trip?
Mid-August.
And what'd you do out there? Because we haven't talked hardly any about that.
No,
trip
I
at
kind of
all.
kept it secret. So I met some folks out there, again, that I've never met in my life. And we got to run around the mountains and do a little work for the government, protecting the sheep herd. So
And that's really all you can say because you've been sworn to secrecy and you've got top secret clearance now.
pretty much, but it was awesome. My dogs held up really, really well. It was 9 straight days on horseback. I don't even know how many hours I was in the saddle, and I am not a horse girl. So it was the first day I fell off twice in the first 2 hours. So
You fell off the horse?
Yeah.
Was it bucking?
No. It was graceful. It was like the most graceful dismount that anybody had seen. Like,
If we could,
probably...
there's no way it was
No.
graceful.
I have
No
I
way.
have like a video of one of them. Like
We got to have that. We have not seen that video.
Yeah. So like the first time we're going down, and it's all blowdowns, and you're like on a mountain, like a steep mountain. I'm on a horse, so there's 2 people on horses and 2 people on mules. And honestly, I think the horses were just as good as the mules in that terrain. So like mad props to the horses. It was awesome. And the first one, I was not like paying attention where we were going, and I wasn't super confident in telling the horse where to go either. And there was a branch or a tree trunk that was
typical. Here we go.
That was like right in front of me, and it came like just at my waist, and the horse goes, and I just grab on and I hang on. And the horse goes forward, and I stay hanging on the log with my feet dangling in the air.
So it's like one of those Hollywood deals that you think, who in the world would do something like that? And now we know.
Yep, it's me. So I just hung on, and it was like a really old tree, so there wasn't any scrapey bark or anything. It was like really smooth. So I just slouched and fell right down, got back on the horse, and probably 10 minutes later, we're on steep country, and the saddle was a little bit loose, and I wasn't able to center it really well at the time, and we walked like right under a pine tree branches, and the saddle slipped, and I fell off and got back right back on. They're like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yup," and right back on, and that was that. And I learned very quickly that the horse that I was riding likes to jump things, so a lot of the horses would like walk over the blowdowns, and my horse was a jumper. So
that's because he knew he could with you on him.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna give her the worst ride of her life for 9 days, and she's gonna have to figure this out. So
yeah, so I actually had a really spirited conversation with the person you were hunting with, and he was like, because I was talking about my buggy and how I prefer it infinitely to a horse, and he's like, we were just joking around. He's like, our buggy isn't going to go through this blowdown very good, and I was like, I mean, you're right, but also like I got this coffee cup right here being held, and like all my buddies are just sitting here chatting. So I love horses. They're awesome, but man, they're so risky.
I'm not getting on no horse.
We have the opportunity to
for
ride
any
at my
reasons.
Work. Yeah, we have the opportunity to ride at my work, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll take a 4-wheeler. I'll walk. Like, man, they're cool, but they're crazy risky, man. Damn.
Yeah, by the end of it, like I was pretty good and I was comfortable, and I live under the mentality like if I'm gonna die, like that's the way God wants me to go, and so be it. And take chances, take risks, and just live your life, and that's just kind of how I roll.
That's a good way to go until you have to pay your medical bills because you lived.
Who's coming from a guy on crutches?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
well, I've already lived through the whole horse mule thing, and man, I'll tell you what, I like my side by side. You feed it when you use it, and when you're not out building fence and baling hay for it and
scooping
anybody
up
that's
waste.
Anybody that's east of the Mississippi River that has horses, most of the time they're nothing more than pasture ornaments. Really, they're just
all the horse
ornaments.
people are coming for you now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, east of the Mississippi River is a whole different thing. I mean, I know some people that are east here that use when we had mules, we used them every day. But man, I got a tractor now, and I got a side by side now.
Yeah, but
So-
like for real, like out west, I'd never been to that part of Colorado before, never done this kind of hunting. And like after the first day, I'm like, holy crap, like these guys are like serious, like badass mountain men, like cowboy mountain men, like, and they're like, hey, at the end of it, they're like, would you do this? Like, could you do this? And I'm like, no, like there's like, I am not cut out for like how gritty and how tough and how independent and everything. Like these guys and women are serious people. I was amazed at what they have to go through and what they do and where they have to go. And, looking for a dog for over 24 hours because the GPS failed and, staying on the mountain and just where you
Well, yeah, and you take people like they've been guests on our show several times, even this year. You take Becky and Cleve Dwyer, and they're making their living off of the back of a mule out there hunting lions. And you take Michael Ritchie, and I broke mules with him, and I watched some of these newer mule breaking videos, and Michael broke this mule from never having a load on its back to walking around a round pen with a load on its back, leading it out of the pen and walking it around with a sawbuck and load on it in a couple hours, just because he's a third generation stockman. And I called him a couple weeks ago. The National Finals Rodeo was just held in Las Vegas, and I had some friends that went out there and from back here, and they're all standing in front of the arena getting their picture taken with their belt buckle and their boots and their hats on, and they're about as cowboy as somebody can't be. And then his dad was out there, who I know, Mike. I mean, that guy's made his living, and that hat he's wearing has seen some action, and it was funny to me to see how everybody wants to be a cowboy until it's time to do cowboy shit, and then they don't want any part of it.
Oh yeah,
me included.
Yeah, that's very common around here too.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about like the Western life and Western hunting and stuff like that. So it was a thoroughly enjoyable trip for me. And
Yeah.
I am actually pretty proud of myself for staying on a horse for 9 days and not crying. So
I was too, really. I thought after the first day you rode that it was over. It's like she'll ride one day, and then those, I don't even know. It's where your femur's attached to your tailbone there or whatever, and all of a sudden that's where it hurts. What is it, Seth? You know what it is. I'm not picking
Sacrum?
up the word.
Yeah, where your femur attaches to your tailbone.
Whatever it is.
That's true. That's not anatomy. That is not
pelvic bone. All right, so
yeah. No, you're good.
This isn't an anatomy podcast.
We got you.
All I know is if you haven't ridden a lot and you get in the saddle and you try to ride like you did, Lauren, most people are crying on the side of the trail. Oh. I mean, it's just brutal because your ass hurts.
Yeah, I just wake up. So like I had to wake up at like sometimes 1 or 2 in the morning to get where we needed to be on time, because I was camping by myself at the top of
that in and of itself is a challenge for you.
Just camping by myself, or
no,
waking up
at 1. Yeah, waking up before whatever time.
You're not lying. I'm not a morning person.
I had a hair caught and was home when you were just like, oh, good morning. I was like, you missed it. We caught one. Like, anyway.
Yeah. Because I was camped at the top of a mountain by myself, and that was 45 minutes to town to the gas station where I'd meet the guy. And then we'd go another 10, 15 minutes, pick up dogs at the kennels at his friend's house. And then we'd have to drive like another hour, 2 hours, whatever it was, to meet the rest of our party. And then we'd drive more to go hunt.
All right. So I got a question for you, and it's related. I'll bring it back around to the hounds part. What did you learn traveling with hounds like that? that you could pass on to the rest of the hound hunting community? I mean, you went on this two huge road trips this year.
Yeah.
And traveling with hounds. What did you learn traveling with hounds?
Beg people for gas money because you go through a lot of it. No, I paid my own way, guys. The tie out system, honestly, from Dogs Are Treed was a huge lifesaver. Like, absolutely a huge lifesaver.
What'd you like about it? Why?
I could get out of the truck, grab, and I had it like wound up and just like attached to the outside of my dog box. I've got a little rail where I can clip my leashes and everything. And I could just grab that. I could put a stake in the ground, or I could wrap it around a tree, or like those cement pilings that they have at gas stations so you don't like run into the propane tank or something. So I'd like do one around that cement thing and then one to a light post, and you could just get dogs out and hook them up super quick.
How long does it take you to set up that system?
Like 3 minutes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it depends. Sometimes you have to like shorten it depending on where you are and what you have accessibility to. But honestly, I never put a stake in the ground. I always found trees or lampposts, or I did one end to like my hitch and then one end to a lamppost. It was just super simple. And I could just grab dogs out. Have your dogs trained to hold themselves in the dog box until you call them out. Because if you're at truck stops or you're trying to let them out to potty like on the side of a highway, you don't want 5 dogs running out and then, you get dogs hit on the road, or you're chasing dogs forever without collars on. So I learned how to efficiently use that tie out and get my dogs fed and watered and everything quickly.
How long would you drive between times that you let your hounds out?
Well, I'm a little bit of a fur mama. So like there's a lot of houndsmen who'll be like, yeah, I drive 12 hours straight and they don't get out of the box, which is fine. Like if your dogs deal with that, that's fine. But probably every other time I stop for gas, and my truck gets 9 to 10 miles an hour per gallon when I'm pulling that camper. So
that's a long trip, 9 to 10 miles an hour.
Yeah. 9 to 10 miles a gallon.
I hear you. Josh, what's the contrast on that for competition coon hunters?
I personally do about 4 to 5 hours, 6 hours. They're fine. After a cast, when I know a dog's good and cleaned out and tired, and say I'm going to drive, it's a 7-8 hour trip home, they don't want out of that box. They'll be glad to do. They're tired and wore out. They'll be glad to sit in there for 8 hours. I always make sure, it depends on how comfortable the dog is too. A full-size truck with a big box, medium-sized dog, they can really stretch out in there and they can be comfortable. They got real nice pads, winter doors, all that stuff. So they're good to go in there. So yeah, it just varies. In the summertime, I like to get them out quite a bit, make sure they're hydrated. In the wintertime, 8 hours after a hunt's no big deal, but I try to stop every 5 if I'm on a good long road trip at least.
Yeah, I'd say it's like, it was probably around that time for me too. But it also depended like on the time of the day. Like if it was time for them to sleep, I can drive and not let them out for a super long time. If it's hot, let them out. Yeah.
Everywhere I travel, I've traveled so many times for so many years, and I'm even doing more of it now. I mark places on my map that are good places to let a dog out, because I don't ever put mine on a leash usually. And so I'll find a good roadside park or something like that. I'll have my healer. I'll have duds and con, or duds and rain, or con and rain, or whatever. And I can just open the dog box doors, let them run around where they got room. They can get 50, 60 yards from me, not have any trouble. And I can just holler them back in the box. So I don't have to tie them out. I don't have to put them on leashes. And I've got all these spots either memorized or marked. That way it's good to know where they're at.
Yeah, there were places that I went that I let like 2 or 3 dogs out at a time, leashless, with their little beeper collars on, just to be sure. And that's helpful. And I think they empty out quicker that way too.
They do.
So,
I think so too.
I do too. Yeah,
I totally agree. Off leash, they always go way faster.
Absolutely. one thing that I always found before we realized that hounds could actually be trained to stay close to you and you could recall them and stuff, we would carry a 20 or 30 foot line with us, a check line, and you could let them range out and they cleaned out better that way. So even if you're not to that point where you can recall a dog off of a tone and you don't feel comfortable doing that, if you just carry a 20 or 30 foot check cord with you and just walk them out through an area, they'll clean out and they'll take their breaks and do all that stuff a lot easier. So
strangely, I never have to worry about my hounds, but that healer, who's as smart as just about any dog on the planet, is a little bullheaded. And so every now and then I will put a 50-foot check cord on him just so I don't have to put the e-collar on him. The check cord's sitting right there. It's just a 50-foot piece of paracord with a snap on it. And, he takes off and he looks at me when I tell him to come, and he decides he don't feel like it.
He gives you the double barrel.
Yeah, I can step on that check cord and just reel him right in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I learned is to kind of just trust your dogs and let go a little bit. At home you get really comfortable hunting. You know what they're running and you know where they're running and where they're going to be going. And out there, you don't have that same background in your head if you've never hunted that area and never hunted around the same kind of game, the elk and, if there's bear or mountain lion or whatever your dogs are running, just kind of let Jesus take the wheel a little bit. So I kind of got the vibe from the people that I was hunting with, and they're like, I'm like, what do you think they're running? What do you think they're doing? They're like, just chill. It's your dog. Like, just trust it. It's going to be fine. And in Colorado, I lost all 3 of my dogs. River ended up coming in heat the second day, so that was a bust. She made it to one tree the first day, and then that was that. But the rest of the time, I lost all 3 of my dogs, lost GPS communication, or they got out of country. And normally, I would be frantic. Like, if people know me, I'd be frantic. And it's just like, they're going to come back. They're going to figure out, they're smart dogs. And one time, Ridge ended up at the corrals. Cedar ended up at the road that led to the truck. And then Piper ended up under the truck. She went back. So just trust your dogs.
Seth, what's your highlight for 2021 with Houndsman XP?
With Houndsman XP? Well,
yeah.
I mean, it's been a great year, the whole thing, but I'm going to be honest. A lot of people are like, where can I find the show? Where can I find the show? And when I send people links, it's Sighthound people. So I send them some links to the episodes I've done. But you know what episode I honestly send them often to is Shower Shoes and a Bible. That was such a good episode of Houndsman XP, Josh. Seriously, I loved it.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously there was lots of really good ones. I also really like the blood tracking episode. That one was really good too. It sticks in my mind. But
with Travis Land.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But Shower Shoes and a Bible was a phenomenal story. I also, the first episode of Don't Shoot My Dog, that story had me legit. I was building fence, and I just put my T-post pounder down and just sat down in the dune and just listened to it. That was, putting myself in that world and trying to imagine what I would do. And I thought your experience as a law enforcement officer put so much more weight and credence behind what you had to say. And I really enjoyed the fact that you're people are keyboard warriors and they're really tough talking, but in that situation, that's the whole thing I was thinking too. I was like, I don't think people would be as tough as they think they would be in that situation, So anyway, it was a great episode, but I always make sure I link Shower Shoes in there. I love that story. It's just so, you did a great job. And your guest was awesome. It was a great episode.
That wasn't on me. That was all Jason.
Yeah. And I really,
he kind of came out and just decided to tell that part of his life, didn't he, Josh?
Yeah.
We had discussed it before, and I mean, that's not something I want to push somebody to talk to unless they want to, but he wanted to, and kudos to him. And I also want to mention that Jason's mother just passed away here recently too, so let's keep him in our prayers as well. He will be back on The Truth. We want to talk just coonhounds with him at some point because he's a knowledgeable guy in that area too, of course. But yeah, just shout out to Jason, and we're all praying for him too.
Yeah. Well, when we go to the "Don't Shoot My Dog" episode, I had one person message me and tell me that their girlfriend was listening to it, or maybe it was their wife. I can't recall, but they actually had
Maybe
to
it
turn
was
off.
both.
Maybe. What do you mean? Like one guy's girlfriend, another guy's wife?
No, maybe the guy had his girlfriend listening in one spot and his wife in the other. Who knows?
I don't think that was the case, but at any rate, but they actually had to turn it off, while
Emotional?
they were, because as they were listening to it, it just got too heavy with Brad telling his story, and that was such a memorable night. And I mean, people can hear the whole thing on the podcast in that episode, but that was a very memorable night for one of somebody that I knew so close. And Brad is not afraid to share his emotions and things like that. And it was rough on him. It was rough on him that night. And I appreciated him coming on just like Jason, for Brad to come on 15 years later and still tell the story. I mean, when I was interviewing him
about it.
Yeah, when I was interviewing him, and I don't know if this I think it came out in the podcast, but I was interviewing him and that emotion was still coming back to him.
You could hear it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I heard it.
Years later.
Yeah. That's what made it so much more tangible and real.
Yeah.
You could really hear it.
I would not have known what to do if that happened. I think I would have maybe done everything opposite and just not been as smart about it or as logical about what to do had I not been able to hear what we put out in those 3 episodes.
Lauren, are you telling me that you would get ramped up, reactive, and crazy in a tense situation?
What? Me? Being reacting and going kind of overboard? What?
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad was like, "You're overreacting. You're overreacting," whenever my brother would set me off or something. So, yeah, it's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
go ahead, Seth.
No problem. As far as my hunting is going, my dogs have been amazing this year. But Lauren, you remember how rough it was to try to find one last year? It's the same this year, just as bad. We're really, really.
Do you think
struggling.
It's worse even?
I'd say it's about the same. We're
What's
averaging.
going on? What's going on there, Seth? Why? What's
so 19?
We're going to give you a chance to nerd out here a little bit about jackrabbit biology.
Yeah, so jackrabbits in desert systems, which is where they live, typically go through normal cyclical cycles of boom and bust, where the population will come out in this huge boom year, and then it'll taper off, and then eventually they reach a wall where the carrying capacity of their environment can't support the huge populations there are. Their predator populations explode because there's such an abundance of food. And usually when, everyone knows when you get animals close together, they spread disease through each other really quickly and their population will plummet. And that's called a bust year. And that's totally normal cycle of all hares, really. Snowshoes, jackrabbits, whitetails, all of them. But a novel hemorrhagic disease came to the United States in early 2020, literally weeks after the coronavirus whole thing started. So this is very serious. It has about a 90% mortality rate.
Where'd it come from? UK?
They're not exactly sure. So they're not exactly sure. They think
China.
It came from a.
We're China. We're gonna
target the jackrabbit hunters and sidehound community and break the back of the United States.
I was devastated. I'm so sad. Anyway,
all 9 of them are devastated.
I think the last time I checked, they think it came from Northern Europe, like Norway, but I'm not 100% sure. No one's really 100% sure. They're type 1. This is the type 2. The type 1 has been all over the world already, and so is type 2 now. It's incredible how quick these viruses can spread around the world, as we all know. And so type 1 did not affect hares. It only affected rabbits. Type 2 affects hares and rabbits. And it got to the United States. Sadly, New Mexico is one of the epicenters of the release of sick rabbit. Pet rabbit was brought to New Mexico. And of course, when it died, I'm sure they just put its body out in the desert. Hop, hop, hop. Here comes a jackrabbit or a cottontail. Boom. They have it now. It's extremely persistent.
So you're talking about somebody had a sick tame rabbit.
Yes. A
And
domestic rabbit was sick. When it died, they probably
Thumper
put it out in the
dies.
desert.
and
Thumper
they
dies.
give him an aerial burial out in the desert. And
Burial.
And is the
Yeah.
virus like parvo kind of where it just kind of lives forever in the
It is. It's extremely persistent. It can survive inside a corpse, inside the dried, mummified carcass of a rabbit for up to 8 months. It can survive temperatures down to 7 degrees Fahrenheit, up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit, anything in between. And it can survive in leaf litter soil for almost a year. It's extremely persistent. It can survive inside the feces of a scavenger. So it's spread mostly by vultures that would feed on a dead one. And as they're flying, they just poop. That splatters on the ground. Hop, hop, hop. Here comes Mr. Jackrabbit just sniffing around. He sniffs that infected feces. He has it. Spreads like wildfire through the community. 90% die. So
how is it spread throughout the rest of the? I mean, what as far as hare populations go in like Montana down to you, is it everywhere? Are they all been decimated?
It's spread throughout the western United States in corridors of travel, and one of the main ways it's been traveled is by turkey vultures as they migrated north from. They live in the south. They migrate up and they've carried it along with them. It's all the way up through Utah. It's been into like West Texas, ravaged populations throughout Nevada. California also had a massive die-off.
Because I know they had a huge population of hares or jackrabbits when I was in north central Montana. I mean, a fantastic population. We went out there bird hunting for 2 or 3 years straight. I done a job out there. I lived there for about 8 months and then took bird dogs out there, and they were always bumping jacks. And we don't have them. I don't have any experience around them. But as far as the numbers of jacks, I was really impressed by it. I didn't know if it was all the way up there too.
Yeah, and that's the thing about them. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but their populations are also very localized. So you'll have areas that are abundant, super abundant with them, and then you'll have vast sections of desert that are very sparse. And so like where we hunt with sighthounds, they already have a really sparse population because it's a very risky area to live in, open areas, super open areas. They like a broken, fragmented habitat of brush and open area combined, which is not ideal really for running. But anyway, whatever. Long story short, the type 2 virus came in, devastated their populations. About 10%. Some populations were killed to 98%. That's what our surveys have shown. And so it's averaging about 2 hours to find one now. It's been awful. And we've pretty much put a self-imposed limit of 1 run per day. I don't care if we get outrun, we put them in a hole. That's ideal. I want to put them in a hole or catch them. We run 1 hare a day, we leave. So it's been a really, really sad season for that because, you drive an hour and a half, then you spend 2 hours to find one. You course one from between 1 minute to 3 minutes and you go home. So it's pretty sucky.
Question for me is, knowing that the population is like that, have you cut back on your hunting?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, we're running 1 if we can. And that's the thing. Normally, if you even find 1, you're like, all right, we just spent 2 hours to find 1. Like, I'm done, dude. I don't want to walk another 2 hours. Me and Justin walked 12 miles 2 weekends ago.
But I mean, I guess my question is taking that into consideration. Have you been more hesitant to even go out and look for them, knowing that the populations are down?
Definitely. We have 13 fields we hunt on, and we pretty much just hunt 1 field 1 week, and then we just go to the next one. So we've been driving a ton this season too.
How big is one of those fields?
Our smallest one is 5,900 acres, and our biggest one is 22,000. So yeah,
that's so strange to me because hunter mortality is such a small percentage of all the game that I hunt. When everyone talks about, we can't quails may be a little different story, but we can't shoot the pheasants up, we can't shoot the quail up, the rabbits, the coons, the deer, but they replace themselves so fast. And maybe a hunter, as far as raccoons, especially here, or upland game or turkeys or whatever, hunter mortality is maybe 1/1000th of what causes the death of all these animals. And so I always tell myself, yes, we want to conserve and yes, we want to do this, but how big of effect is it that we're not hunting hard versus we are hunting hard?
It's like a jackrabbit population, please. I've ran 9 this season. I've caught 7. A golden eagle kills 3 a week just to survive. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. And so golden eagles are their number 1 carnivore. A full.
I remember you pointing that out to me when we saw that guy.
Where we went, there's 2 that live there, and every time I drive by, I'm like, I hate you, you feathery demons. But
you ever thought about shooting one?
Well, of course I've thought about it, but I'm never going to do it. Every time I see them, I wish I was like, I hate.
We don't need Seth in the clink.
I've seen Goldens up here on maybe 6 or 7 occasions. We got a huge population of bald eagles now, especially after the last 10 years. Their population has just exploded. But you'll see a golden rarely, and the size of those things is so impressive. Oh, they're huge.
So we have 2 tagged at my research where I work, and the golden eagle biologist, she travels like all over the state because they obviously can cover huge distances. But the hen eagle that's been like familially roosting at the Hornado where I work in this well, we have this big windmill. They've have this nest in there. It's like 5 feet deep. Like they just keep adding to it every year. And you climb up there and look inside that nest. There's coyote skulls. There's small deer skulls. Like there's everything you can imagine. Skulls.
They're
and
amazing
body parts.
predators.
They're so powerful. 8-foot wingspan, dude.
Yeah,
she's so
when they're because they'll eat carrion too, of course. And you'll see a bald eagle and a golden next to a carcass or next to a kill or something like that. And the size, you're just like, wow, what on earth is that thing?
Yeah, they're
dinosaur,
like
freaking pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
Is the problem with hares? It's totally different. Chris, you might know some about this from hanging out with Alan, but the snowshoe hare problem, like in the Northeast or like Michigan and stuff, that's totally different than the virus, right?
I haven't. We did have a little trouble. It was down this year from last year on availability of hares, so I'm not sure. Seth would actually be better on understanding, that impact of that disease. I think when I think about, we've got great fans from Norway. I'm not trying to, but man, we've had some bad stuff come from Norway. Look at the Norwegian Wharf Rat and the Black Plague, and now we've got them killing off Seth's hares, his jackrabbits.
We're gonna have to invade Norway.
Rotten lutefisk on you.
That's the only option. We're gonna attack Norway.
Seth, what do you think? What do you think, Seth? I mean, what's the difference in genus and species and everything from a snowshoe to a jackrabbit?
Well, they're both
hares.
They're both closely related. They're both in the genus Lepus. But I mean, I don't know if the virus has made it that far to the northeastern United States. I've been really focused on the western United States, obviously, but I don't know if RHDV2 has made it up there. If our listeners are around, let us know. If anyone's curious on this, you can go to aphis.gov, I believe. That's aphis.gov. You can also just Google APHIS. They have pretty extensive maps of where diseases and wildlife have generally spread. That's APHIS's number one mission, typically, is to survey diseases and populations. And that'll give you a lot of information. Also, if you want to know diseases about like rabies, canine distemper, and they do a lot of that as well. So it's good to know.
And so, talking about that, I hunt with a guy, a new hunting partner. His name's Ken, but he's Chef Ken. He's a chef, and I've been coon hunting really hard this year, and
now we know why.
And he got bit by a raccoon when we were hunting one night, and I was like, oh, just, here's some chlorhexidine, clean it up, you'll be fine, all that stuff. And he ended up, his wife made him go to the doctor and do all that stuff. He got bit like kind of in the back of the quad or the hamstring area. And
hold on, time out.
How did he get bit?
How on earth did someone get bit in the ass by a coon?
That's
what I want to know.
That's a high-up bite. Like, is that a jumper?
The coon was angry.
Obviously.
Came down angry, and I just had 2 dogs out, so I had Piper and Boost. And I'm used to just my dogs. Boost isn't my dog. And I'm just used to my dogs. I can call them off quick enough to get a shot in on the ground. Mm-hmm. And it's done. But I couldn't do that with Boost. Like, Boost was like, oh no, we are going for this. Like, you cannot get me away.
Damn red dog?
Boost is that damn red dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I never knew his name. I just knew damn red dog.
Yeah. So he's in the mix. And I'm like, Piper, get out. And I'm like, grab Boost. So he's running around. This coon is like charging us, like charging the dogs. Like, it's a big sow. It was like a 23, 24 pound sow. And, kind of like backed up to a log at one point, and he's trying to grab boost, and like in slow motion I see this coon just like go for him then at this point. So the coon like launches like from the ground up and grabs onto him and is like holding on, and I'm just watching. I'm just like, holy
Is he a new hunter?
He's a new hunter. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I'm like,
I mean, I think of all the times and all the raccoons I've been around, from live traps to hunting to trap lines to you name it, and I have never been coon bit.
right.
Not once. And the fact that he hunts for like a week and gets one right in the butt cheek, it's just
literally pretty much what happened. Yeah. Right. It's right in the hamstring. You got it. And I'm like, okay, do I kick this coon while it's on him? And then like it kind of like rips further. Like he's already grabbed on. So then if I kick the coon, is it gonna cause more injury? You know, like what do I do at this point?
I'm kicking. I'm going for it.
I think I did.
Kick him.
Or I like tried like hitting it with like the butt of the gun, and it.
Oh, that's never a good idea.
No, yeah. Kick.
No.
Yeah,
No.
kick.
I've broken the.
Oh, I
did it
broke
one time.
one gun that way.
One is all it takes.
But that's because like it was a cheap 22 with a plastic stock.
Well, mine was too. Mine was a wooden. It was a Marlin. What model was that? The 553 or something like that.
Just snapped
What
it.
is your guys's? That's the one thing we've never covered on the podcast. What is your guys's go-to coon gun? Coon
A
hunting gun?
Mossberg 722 Plankster open-sighted. $120 gun.
Chris, what you packing?
A CZ American, or no, a CZ. I can't remember the model number, but it's a CZ. I got it cut down to 17-inch barrel. I've got a Leupold on it, and I've got a picking any rail on the side of it with a light on it. They come out dead.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not bragging, but I'm freaking legendary with that sucker.
I shoot
One shot, they're coming out.
I did not shoot this coon. I'll put that out there too.
I shoot a Chiapa little badger. They weigh in with the laser and everything. They weigh in right at like 1.7 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's a rifle. The greatest coon hunting implement I've ever toted. And very accurate.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing with the CZ is it's a bolt action rifle. It's super accurate. You know, a lot of the target shooters and stuff were picking them up back in the day to compete with Anschutz, and they would compete with Anschutz right out of the box.
Yeah.
And then I customized mine a little bit.
Maybe I did shoot this coon. I can't remember.
Jeez.
I don't know.
We're done talking. We're not talking about the coon anymore.
But yeah. So the Leupold scope, you know, I see a lot of coon hunters using lesser scopes, but I've fallen on that scope. I've slipped down banks with it.
Well,
I've only
Leupold is
resighted
like
it one time.
lifetime warranty.
Laser.
Like if anything goes wrong with that scope, you can send it in and get another one.
Yep.
So I love about Vortex too. I got a Vortex on that one.
Yeah.
Crossfire.
Quality optics. So that's whether it's laser, and then like on my bear rifle, that's a 350 Legend with a Leupold Delta Point Pro on it. So
well, you shot deer with that rifle too. You've shot a lot of stuff with that 350 Legend.
My coyote calling gun is a CZ American 22 Hornet.
Oh man,
and it's a Leupold with a VX2 on it, and and everyone says that, you know, I've got some money in it, but it's not crazy high. But I just beat that thing to death calling coyotes.
Me too.
I mean, I'm dropping it off fences and stuff. I mean, it's got a bipod on it and stuff, but I mean, they're good scopes.
Yeah,
good guns too.
I don't think I can have a nice gun if I'm going coon hunting, because
oh heavens no,
I can't take care of anything just to start.
Me neither.
So.
I try my best. Even my flinter, that thing is like custom made for me, and I'm like, God, it's all dented up. It's a hunting gun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna get.
If I'm hunting with them,
okay.
You ought to see my bird hunting gun. My Beretta is just destroyed. It looks like someone's ran it over.
So to give you an idea here, Seth, and this is way off topic, but you talk about it being beat up. Herschel House is a legendary flintlock builder from Kentucky. Oh, that's closest I'm going to give you. But so he builds rifles that look like they were built in the 1700s. And if I told you what he did to rifle stocks to antique them, I mean, I've heard stories, and I've never verified this, but I've heard stories that he'll carve a rifle and then take it out in his driveway and throw it down the driveway just to put the dents and dings in it.
Dang.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. Beat them up.
no.
Take them and use them. I've never had a showpiece gun that I was like, oh, I'll never take this hunting because it's too special. Screw that. I'm taking that sucker. And if you look at my CZ, man, it is stock worn, and I want it. And I simply treat the stock with furniture oil and keep it oiled up, and it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah. My dad was like, you're like, oh, you're rough on. I'm like, Dad, it's a hunting gun. And I agree. I try to be nice to it, but I mean, like, it's I crossed a barbed wire fence. I dropped it by accident. Oops, my bad. Like, it's whatever. But anyway, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my coon hunting weapon of choice was my boot, because when I went with Lauren, there was no.
Or your sandal?
My sandal. Yeah.
Oh, I just like
in my world, a sandal is a boot. But yeah, that thing.
Well, and then
you're not a Haitian.
Then later, what did we bring like a time or two after that, like a club?
Yeah, a club.
And we never got to use it.
I never got to use the club. I did get to use my boot though. Yeah, and my sandal. The thing is that this is what I learned. Coons are tough, dude. Like, I knew they were tough, but they're tough. Like, that thing ran up to me, and I gave him the 10.5. You know what I'm saying? And he was just like, it just like kept running like nothing happened. And I am not that chicken legs. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't even care. He was just like kept
I'm going to tell you, pound for pound, a raccoon. I think the only thing that can beat it is a badger.
I've seen badgers dispatched in traps, coyotes, fox, bobcats. Bobcats are so fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Bobcats are so easy. They're so fragile.
You can look at them and they'll fall.
Oh, yes.
Well,
and everyone says,
put a catch pole around their neck. You got to put one arm.
If you're going to release them, you can't. Yeah, if you're going to release them, you have to be very quick if you're going to use a catch pole.
That's
because they are unconscious and dispatched very quickly.
Yes.
You've got maybe 10 to 15 seconds to get that catch pole tight, trap released, catch pole loose, cat out, or it's going to have permanent damage and it's probably going to die
from just thrashing. Or they're just like
because they.
So
I don't know.
The trachea is very fragile. They have very low.
You can't cinch it down all the way if you're going to release one.
Well, and their neck, like their blood vessels and stuff on their neck are so superficial that I was taught in trapping class to get one arm under the noose for the catch pole when you release them, because even if you have it just around their neck, it can cause damage and they'll die later.
Yes, they're very fragile.
Yeah.
Whereas you can put that thing around a coon, go eat lunch, have a beer, come back, let it go, and the coon's fine. I mean, they are just.
And the coon comes right after you, and
they're completely built. They're completely built different. And badgers are tough. All the weasel family's tough. Otters are tough. Otters especially. I've seen them, caught in 220s, 330s, and still be fine. They're an amazingly tough animal. One otter actually killed a trapper in Iowa. It was able to buy.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh.
What?
No, he was looking for a trap that had a stake pulled, and the otter come out of the water, bit him in the neck, bled out, dead. True story.
Otter
wait.
What?
Jugular.
No, wait. Josh said that one trapper said that he was looking for a lost stake. If this otter killed him, how did he say it?
This is what I heard from another trapper.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my granddaddy told me.
Okay, now, and it may be. So now I'm going to have to get on there and look up the news clipping just to make sure I'm not lying to the American public. But yeah, this was a well-known story. And
does the otter take a neck chunk out?
Yes.
What?
I mean, otters are viciously tough animals.
And
it's
the
crazy
trapper lived long enough to tell the story before he died.
And if you have a bobcat,
forensics,
a fox, a lot of animals that are hitting the end of the trap chain trying to get away from you when you're walking up, an otter's not. An otter's hitting the front of the trap chain trying to get to you. That's
how rock squirrels are. They're so
and mink. Yeah, I mean, a mink is the same way. They're just mean animals.
That whole family It's nothing but badasses, though. Like you were saying, the whole weasel family.
They are. The weasel family they're a different breed, all the way from Wolverine to just a regular.
I wonder if anybody
Herman.
uses. I wonder if anybody still hunts those otter hounds.
I don't know.
For their intended
or otter.
purposes.
Yeah, maybe.
Man, we need to look that up.
Rare. That's a rare breed. That's a super rare breed.
No kidding. The otter hound.
Yeah. They look like a shaggy bloodhound, kind of, sort of.
Yeah. So the Chesapeake Bay Retriever was actually bred from an otter hound and a Newfoundland, and then bred down to what we call the Chesapeake Bay Retriever.
Huh.
And but yeah, otter hound was a big part of the Chesapeake Bay Retriever breed. We need to track down some otter hound guys. See if anybody's still doing that.
Otters are awesome. Otters are amazing animals.
Yeah, I saw one once. It swam right up to me in the Rio Grande. They reintroduced him they brought a population from Colorado, and I was doing a fish survey, and we were running the electroshocker through the water, and it just popped up right beside me, and I dropped my net.
I believe
it was just. I was
There's
like,
only 600 otter hounds worldwide. Sorry.
Whoa.
Worldwide.
That's a pretty small gene pool.
Vulnerable native breed. It's a British dog breed.
If you hunt an otter hound, contact me. I want to talk to you. For sure. Houndsman XP, we want to talk to otter hound guys.
Up next, otter hound becomes the second most popular coonhound breed.
So remember how you mentioned like hunter mortality and how like some species, we really have to be careful with, and other species just bounce back super quick. I'm really interested because one of the properties I hunt, I have only killed 2 boar out of it this year. One was my 26-pound personal best, 26.12 pounds. And
but who's keeping track?
And then the rest have been females. So I've probably got 6 or 8, 10 females out of there, and every time we go, it's it comes down. I'm like, crap, it's a female. I kind of feel bad.
You don't. Those coons will come in and replace those coons so fast that, especially where there's habitat, a raccoon.
Yeah.
When there's food and there's cover and there's something for them, you can't. A hound hunter can't do any damage to the overall population.
What is a coon's litter size, and how long are they pregnant?
I believe the gestation is around 50 days, 52 days, something like that. Mm-hmm. Don't quote me. I'm not looking at my Googler, but I'm
going to Google it while you're talking.
Yeah.
63 to 65 days. So very similar to a canine, a dog.
Way too slow on the trigger there.
And then I'm assuming 4 to 8 kits, but I know for a fact that they will rebreed when the population's low. They will have bigger litters when the population's low. They can bounce back so fast. Yes, they can bounce back so fast.
That's a really unique.
Isn't that amazing?
It's such a cool
And what
trait.
I learned is they will den up with their kits even for the next winter.
Mm-hmm. And it's you can really see it here after the fur boom of 12 and 13, and the population did get actually knocked down a pretty good chunk. We really knocked our coon population down because they were $25 a piece. And so everybody had traps. Everybody had dogs. Everybody was hunting real hard. They were getting trapped in places where you couldn't turn a dog loose around the highways and things like that. And so the overall population actually did get knocked down. And the fur boom went bust. In 14, I believe it was, they went from being worth $25 to nobody would even buy them. So nobody trapped. Everybody quit hunting, the guys that were doing it just to make a little extra money. And they came back with a vengeance. And we have so many coons now. Well, you take the La Plata hunt 2 weeks ago, they treat 319 coons in that hunt. And that's 45 minutes from the house. There's so many raccoons right now. Wow. I've never seen anything like it.
And how many days was that La Plata hunt?
That was a 4-day hunt.
4-day
in
hunt.
Missouri or whatever, they haven't opened up an open season like Wisconsin has for coyotes. You can shoot them all the time, anytime. They still have a regulated season, or
November 15th to January 15th or 31st, one or the other.
That's not long enough.
No, it's not long enough, but it's going to change. They're already The biologists are doing their work for the MDC. Our turkey population's crashed. That's part of it. I know that's not all of it. It's a habitat thing. 99% of anything is always a habitat thing. We have less cover. We have less good CRP. We have less nesting and stuff like that. We have a lot of herbicides because of our big agri-economy. And so that's part of the reason. But coons are big nest predators. So an animal that's already struggling for habitat, the predators are taking advantage of that too. And it's not like how Seth was talking as to where jackrabbits get high or hares get high and a predator comes in and the predator numbers are high because they're high. Well, this nest raider has plenty of food. If the quail are all gone and the pheasants are all gone and the turkeys are all gone, the coons are still going to be there because they still have a huge food base with all our agriculture.
And then that's a huge problem for
right.
That's a huge problem for letting those nesting species recover because they're already at a depressed state. And then when you have a carnivore species, this is like classic carnivore population management stuff that seems to always be
a mid-range carnivore is always the problem.
Mesocarnivores, in like the Latin term, a mesocarnivore is that middle level guy. And like coons and coyotes are really legendary. We were talking earlier about that ability to be hyperfecund, where they reproduce more when their population is very low as a response to stress on their population. That's another really crazy thing that they're amazing at. But another thing too is like once the population of like herbivores or whatever we're talking about right now, nesting creatures, gets so low and you still have this huge load of carnivores, the prey base struggles so hard to rebound. And so that is when a lot of people kind of like, oh, predator management. But a lot of people have a hard time articulating exactly what that means. That is the number one reason that predators need to be managed, is that when prey, combination of usually anthropogenic factors, human caused factors, but also habitat loss, which usually is a human caused factor. Once their population gets low, you need to help them. And you got to minimize that predator population so they can rebound. And
that right there is why every person who cares about hound hunting in the United States needs to listen to the Houndsman XP podcast. That's a shameless plug.
Cares about hunting in general.
But we can, Seth, you just laid that out, and Josh, you set him up for it. But we just laid that out as to why we need to be educated on these issues and be able to walk into a Natural Resources Commission meeting and talk intelligently about how we are going to preserve this. You can elect the most popular good old boy in your area that has hounds to but he's not, unless he's educated, he is not going to make a dent on these issues when it counts. You've got to be educated and you've got to know what the verbiage is and how we make an impact on these management decisions. And it's not being taken into consideration. And we're letting the emotional roller coaster take us away on this predator management. And you got to be educated. And that right there, that 2 minutes right there was worth doing this podcast.
Did you see, on this same note, did you see the Facebook post by he's a deer hunting realtor? I'm not even going to say his name because it's kind of aggravating, but they killed 760 some coons on a weekend.
I saw that.
In a calling contest.
Without hounds.
Now, no hounds, no traps, no nothing, just calling. But in their defense, I'm not against that. Skin the coons, sell them at market, eat them, whatever you want to do with them. That's fine. We have too many. I understand the management. That's fine as well. No, I'm not a big fan of posting it on social media. That was the gripe that I had. If you're going to do something legally and you have the resources to do that, we should support all those hunters that do that. But they killed 760 some coons over a weekend. Now, I get hundreds of messages from houndsmen that are friends of mine or that know me that are in places with sparse coon populations, and they can't fathom the number of raccoons in our area, and especially in that area. That area is about an hour and 35 minutes southeast of me, which even has more raccoons than right here. And these are areas where this realtor, I assume, is not going to let a bunch of hounds, get cut loose on him because he's selling ground just for deer hunters. He's sponsored this contest and he wants to help the turkey population. Whatever, you want to do that. That's your own business. I'm not going to be critical of it, but they see that some guy from South Carolina that's 2 miles in between trees, or some guy from Arkansas that's really struggling to tree a bunch of coons right now, or something like that. West Virginia, they see this and they lose their mind, and rightly so in some cases. But they just think it's a crying shame. And what people don't understand is that raccoons are a resource, just like a white-tailed deer is a resource, just like a elk is a resource, just like coyotes, Seth's hares, everything, and they all need managed. And we've come to the point that humans have to take it on ourselves because we've screwed up the biology or the ecology of all these places so bad anyway that we have to manage it now. We're the only major predator of these mesopredators, like Seth was talking about. So, I mean, that's something that's important. Like Seth said, predator management is important. But we also have to have we have to be smart about how we do things. You can't just go pile up 800 coons in a picture and put it all over Facebook and brag about it. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, there's a tangent in there somewhere that I just went on, but
well, no, like if you're going to post that, at least put a little bit of context with it.
Exactly.
Like, hey, here's what we're dealing with in Missouri. This is what our
here's the thing.
Don't
Don't pile up 800 coons and put it on freaking Facebook. That's stupid.
I
don't care what situation you're in. That is stupid. Don't do
or
that.
50 coyotes or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, imagine if, just like all the messages I'm getting, imagine if we'd have stacked 700 deer up and we'd have posted it up, because we have too many of those too. Our deer population's crazy. CWD's starting to take hold. And so, say a bunch of coon hunters go out and legally take 800 deer and put a big deer pile picture on it. I mean, these guys would lose their mind.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, it does.
That's a challenge.
Hey, I'm gonna.
And so,
oh, go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're fine, Seth. I'm done. My rant's over.
Yeah. So, I was gonna say two things. One, remember, people, like Josh, you hit the nail on the head. And again, I'm just gonna speak like broadly here, but when people are like, let nature take its course, I'm like, nature really can't take its course because there's 8 billion humans in the world.
Exactly.
Like, so sorry, everybody. Like, that's just not going to happen. And two, we were talking about, and I'm going to bring this all the way back, but you guys were talking about a raccoon's gestation period, and a hare is pregnant between 38 to 42 days. But check this out. Superfetation, they can be pregnant 2 times. So she can be about to deliver and get pregnant again while she's still pregnant. So doubly pregnant.
Wow.
She'll ovulate.
That sounds horrible.
Ovulate days before birth. She'll ovulate again, find a male, mate, then she'll deliver. And scientists aren't quite sure, because believe it or not.
Are there other animals that do that?
No, only genus.
It's not humans, I can tell you that.
It's only in the genus Lepus can do that. So European brown
Thank
hares.
God.
Yeah. And so, like, believe it or not, the literature on jackrabbits in general, I'm going to say just jackrabbits because I'm speaking specifically for New World hares here, but is actually pretty sparse. But like, they're very secretive and they're really hard to find, and they're very shy, and you can't keep them in captivity. So the research is really hard to. In the new changing world of thermal optics is like really changing the way we can study them, because you can just stand back with a really sick FLIR setup and watch them from a distance and not disturb them. But anyway,
You're a voyeur.
Yeah, you are.
I bet that helps for your rabbit counting that you've got to do at night for your job.
The problem is
jackrabbit porn.
Yeah, so like a rabbit and a hare, big difference between the two is that rabbits give birth underground to up to 8 babies at a time, and they're born pink and hairless, right? Hares give birth to fully formed precocial offspring. They're like
guinea pigs.
Yeah, I don't know if guinea pigs are like that.
Well, guinea pigs get, like, their babies can eat like pellets and stuff like right after being born. They're fully haired. And
Yeah.
How do you know that?
Because
What
I
is
had
wrong?
I had guinea pigs growing up, and we had babies multiple times.
Oh yeah, then they're just.
Hey,
He's been a guinea pig farmer.
Yeah.
You could be like our famous YouTube.
Chocolate and Silky had babies.
You could be like our famous YouTuber that's been giving us so much problems this year.
Lauren Shaw Farms.
Not even problems. Bring it.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yes.
But hey,
Go ahead.
we want to. Hey, let's move on. I want to get Josh's. He's the new kid on the block.
Yeah, he has had a 2021 to talk about.
Yeah,
he's here.
Bring it, Josh. We want to hear what your most memorable
Well, as far as the podcast goes, it's got to be Kurt.
I got
The-
Hey, Josh. Hey, Josh.
What?
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Josh. Let me tell you what, Josh.
I got
I'll tell you what,
ignorant.
Josh.
I got ignorant. I love that
Yeah.
part. I laughed so hard. He's like, look, I got a little ignorant. I'm going to be honest right here.
I wish, because it's so different for me and it's so different from the people that have been around Kurt, but you see it and you realize how unique this individual is. And you want to bring it to the world, but also you want to bring it the right way because you don't want to have a negative view, because it would be very easy to look at Kurt negatively. We've all done it over the course of our lives. And so you want to bring it in a way that does Kurt justice.
There was so much energy in that podcast. It was awesome.
This is Kurt. That was Kurt toned down. That was Kurt toned down. That was Kurt at 50%. That was Kurt comfortable in his own. Yeah, you're right.
I felt I needed to take a sleeping pill while I was listening to it, because my energy level, I was so amped up and anxious listening to it. I'm like, we gotta take it down, Lauren.
And when you talk to Kurt, and Kurt, a lot of the reason he's like that is because he loves his dogs. Man, he just loves them. And his dog won $20,000 2 weeks ago at La Plata too. That Knockabout Tyson dog is a dog of Kurt's that Rusty Jones was hunting.
Seth, our dogs will never win $20,000.
You don't know that.
My dogs
you guys just got to get
$20,000 in gas and food. Yeah.
Did you guys see about the $100,000 hunt we're having? PKC's having two of them.
Well, yeah, because one's for the tornado benefit.
Yeah. Well, one they opened one 64 dogs, $4,000 entry, and it filled so fast that there were 77 people on the waiting list.
Holy crap.
And so they decided to have another the same weekend. Oh my God. And credit to Michael Moody. And now the Pro Sport's already done a $100,000 hunt. This will be the first one that PKC's done. But there's two of them that weekend. There's $200,000 hunts down in Georgia. Michael Moody and Jesse Lively and them are putting on. So yeah, that's going to be, there's a lot of money in it now. And that's one of the, when we talk about how I'm able to do this, and we talked about the Kurt podcast, and one of the guys that Kurt's won a lot of money, and Kurt's dogs have won a lot of money, but he also hunts, he's hunted for trophies all his life too, and he's had stud dogs. But there are guys that Michael Ward, all them guys like that, they can make a living at it now. That's all they have to do is coon hunt, but you got to be good at it.
Are there ever guys that no one has really heard of, and they come into those hunts and end up doing really well? Maybe not even first place, but still they come in and they're who's this guy? And then bam.
No.
Okay.
There's just
wondering.
not.
So
I mean, there are some dark horses that get in. Don't get me wrong. Jake Renninger come all the way up from Kentucky, and he got in at La Plata too, but he's not an unknown. There's no world we have today. There's no behind the barn coon dogs with some guy that just comes in and knocks the world out anymore. That doesn't exist. Yeah. People can say it does, but everyone knows about these dogs. I mean, if your dog is good enough, someone's going to find it. Someone's going to try to get it to a hunt. Someone's going to try to buy it off of you. I mean, there's not any secret handlers or secret dogs anymore. And if there is, they're not winning.
Case in point, me. No.
Well, I mean, it's like, say you come to a 2,500.
I'm not trying though either.
Yeah, but say you come down to the Lone Star and you go hunting. It's like no one's ever heard of Lauren or seen her dog or something like that, But the behind the barn dogs, you hear it all the time. You see it on the Facebook that, there's some dog tied behind a barn somewhere. That no, there's not. I hate to break it to you, but there's not.
Yeah.
There may be a good coon dog back there, but there's not.
It's not
the
a
big time winner.
Dog.
Yeah. No, the big time winners, they know where they're at.
I'm going to argue with you a little bit about that.
Go ahead. You'll be wrong, but go ahead.
No, you think?
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you think Big Country came from?
Yeah, but what happened to Big Country? You, Jed, and who else? Somebody else said that Big Country. Who else did you ask? What happened to Big Country's now the most famous dog on the freaking planet, Chris?
Yeah, but where was he? Where was he?
Behind a barn.
He was behind the barn.
And then what happened?
We took him out from behind the barn.
Someone heard of him.
So okay, so I'm going to back this up. Donnie was the sole owner of that dog.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I love that podcast, by the way, for you to, but you can tell who the brains behind that operation was. Donnie's a sharp dude.
You better believe it,
Yeah.
man. Donnie is super sharp.
Yep.
And he's a pedigree studying guy, and
Yeah.
he's analytical, and he doesn't do anything. He does not make a knee-jerk decision.
But Chris, just think about when you first started hunting with Country. How old was he?
He was only a year and a half old when I first.
Okay, so essentially at a year and a half old, this dog gets discovered.
He didn't.
Well, you hunted with him.
I hunted with him, but I didn't like him.
Yeah,
I spanked his ass with a plot.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different podcast. But when I came back after I was hunting Jazz and I was really pushing her hard, I almost burned her out. Just like you said, you guys did the podcast, We Can Blow Them Up. I just about blew Jazz up at a year and maybe 13 months old. And I knew I needed to put her up. Donnie was building his house. He had another kid on the way. He's like a rabbit. He can't, he's just producing kids. and
good thing Seth ain't here to go through the whole biology discussion of that. There he is.
So Donnie and I had been hunting and different things. I was like, hey, and we called him Bimbo. Donnie called him Bimbo. I said, Bimbo needs to be out there. He needs to be hunted. Do you care if I come out? Man, and that's where it took off. I was like, I looked at him. I was like, in the text I sent him, I was like, man, this is a different dog than I sent. This is a different dog than I hunted with a year ago. This dog deserves the opportunity. And that's when it started happening.
That's what I'm saying. His Country was good. And as a young dog still, someone found him, got him out, and got him out there. That's going to happen with every dog. Okay. There's no 5 or 6 year old dog that's just some guy's going to go out behind his barn, snap a bale of twine lead on him, and take him to a hunt and go win $100,000. That doesn't exist anymore.
I'm tracking now. So.
Yeah, I mean that's just Country was good. Country was at Donnie's.
Got found.
The six degrees of separation. Someone's going to find that dog.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Donnie. Donnie knew how good he was, but Donnie also knew that at the point of his life he was in, that he was not going to bring him out on that stage.
Right.
And so all the stars aligned, and we started hunting him. And then, I mean, it was several months later before Burkholder even came on the scene. Now
there are dogs that never get to those hunts that could compete. I'm not saying that, but like we know where they're at. There's one right now. There's one tied 4 miles away from here, from right where I'm sitting, that could go get cut loose and compete anywhere and could win a lot of money in a year if they hustled him around. But it's my hunting buddy. His name's Mike Noe. Shout out to Mike. The dog's named Oddball, but everybody knows about this dog. This guy's already been offered quite a bit of money for this dog. I've bragged on this dog. I know what he's like. I've hunted with him a lot, and he's as good a coon dog and geared towards the competition side as I've seen. But Mike doesn't competition hunt. He doesn't want a competition hunt. He just likes good coon dogs. So he's just going to keep that dog at his house until whenever. And at some point, if I'm out of a dog, maybe I'll take that dog and hunt him for a month and go put him in some hunts or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we know where they're at. Well, there's not many secrets.
That's the thing. I mean, when people have that good dog or maybe they think they have that good dog and they're like, oh, nobody wants to take the time for me. It's like even a douche nozzle can figure out a way. Somebody is going to come and they don't care what your personality is. They don't care about, what kind of stupid things you say on Facebook. If it's a good dog, it's a good dog. And they're going to do what they got to do to get their hands on it to promote it.
Ike Rainey and John Strickland's and the Gerald Yoders and the guys like that of the world, they just want to buy your dog, a good dog. If it's a good dog, they'll figure out a way to get your hands on it. And if they can't figure out a way to get their hands on it, it ain't like nobody knows where it's at. I mean, I know there's some good dogs that won't see hunts. Yes, I'm aware of that. But we know where they're all at.
Yeah. Back in the day, same thing was said about, Claire Chenoweth and, some of those guys that knew what a good dog was, and they just wanted to have a good dog in their kennel. and put a good handler with that dog and push him. I mean, Claire had walkers and black and tans and, you know, all this stuff. He wasn't colorblind. So it's not this big conspiracy like, oh, you know, black and tans blue ticks will never get, red bones will never get the fair shake. It's like, if it's a good dog, it's a good dog. And somebody will put the money down to get it out.
I don't care. I mean, if most of these guys that are at these hunts, they don't care what color this dog is. I drew some English dogs that played it. I drew some at the World Hunt. I mean, I drew blue ticks and whatever. I mean, if they're good, these guys don't care. The thing about these big entry hunts and these big money hunts is nobody really gives a shit about the pedigree. They don't care what the dog's out of. They don't care what it came from. Their whole livelihood is based on winning coon hunts, and they just want to win coon hunts. So if the dog's good enough, they're going to get it out there.
But I think that causes some problems too, though, you know, because where are we tomorrow if the guy that has that good dog doesn't care about that stuff? If he doesn't care about the legacy, because you'll always have the mainstream guys that are just in it for the now, and then you've got the traditionalists. You know, it's like it's no different in bow hunting, or if you're a muzzleloader hunter or whatever it is, you're always going to have that guy that is a traditionalist that wants to preserve the heritage of what we're doing.
You're also going to have, though, during all this, you're still going to have the Kevin Cables and the Jed Finleys and the guys like that, the Kurt Ahrings, the guys that raise what they hunt and hunt what they raise, and still like to breed good dogs. And, you know, you're still going to have that out there. And there's more of that out there. Yeah.
I'll throw a name out there I think you'll see him coming back around. I think Jerry Mull's going to come back.
He might, yeah.
Because Salt Creek was a big name.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because Jerry's a buddy of mine. I mean, that guy is sharp.
Yeah. I didn't know whether Jerry, and I've always got along with Jerry, but I didn't know whether Jerry was just so sick of, he was in it for so long, and everybody gets burned out. Everybody wants to take a break.
He's hunting again.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But I will speak for like a week-long hunt. Like at the World Hunt, when I'm out there and I'm getting beat up, even though my dog's still looking good and I can't win a cast, it's not fun. It's miserable. You don't want to be, you'd rather be anywhere else but an hour into this cast when you're already a coon down. I mean, you just walk your guts out and you're going to judge late because you want to help, and it's a long week. So, I mean, it's not, I mean, Jerry, and I'm the same way. I'm thinking, I can't wait to get down to the Lone Star and spend a week down there. By Wednesday, I'm just like, man, this sucks. You know, I'm ready to go home. I'm tired of walking after these dogs all night, every night, and getting up early in the morning and taking care of them and stuff. So, yeah, Jerry, I hope Jerry does come back. Jerry's a good breeder. Jerry's a smart guy. You know, I hope he does come back. But yeah, it's sometimes everybody wants to come back until it's time to come back, and you do it, and you're like, now I remember why I was just out pleasure hunting an hour or two, 3 nights a week.
That's right. That's right. Hey, I'm going to call you out on something. I need Lauren's help on this.
Okay.
So in this in a recent episode of Circle Points, you made a statement about big game hounds and coon hounds.
I did.
And I'm going to go ahead and let you dig your grave a little bit deeper, and then me and Lauren are going to pile on you.
Go ahead. But I still stand by everything I said. I'm not backing up, not 1 inch, 1 iota. I feel like that these dogs that are competing in these bigger money hunts are the absolute pinnacle of what you can do with a hound, and that they would fit into any pack and excel. And I think our dogs are better. I'm not going to lie. I'll go out there and get proved wrong. That's fine. And one thing about it, when I am wrong, I will admit it. But I just can't see how it could get any better. I don't.
Lauren, go.
I'm a little bit behind here. I have not had the time to listen to the episode.
She don't even know what we're talking about, pal.
I know what you're talking about. I read the thing. I posted the thing.
Mute yourself now. If you can't even follow the damn podcast, you got no. Jeez, oh, Pete.
I got to get out. Hey, Seth, especially on dry ground.
That's all I know.
Especially on dry ground.
That's all I know.
Especially on dry ground?
Especially on dry ground.
I mean, competition dogs are dry ground dogs.
Exactly.
I mean,
We don't even frickin' hunt in the snow.
Well, I do, but
There's a
I'm not turning loose in no
bare
snow.
ground and dry ground.
I've hunted in blizzards.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
When they're licking the rocks to get the scent, that's all I know. That's all I.
That's
No.
So you think that those dogs, these competition dogs, these high money winning competition dogs, you put that dog next to someone's best big game dog, that your type of dog is going to be better, no matter what.
If they're raised in that environment, yeah, they're more talented, and they're.
So you think, let's say you had like proven reproducer competition dogs, like, continuously winning big money. Okay, you get a pup, 2 pups, and they're going to be exactly the same. Exactly, whatever.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that a really good competition dog, say you take a 3D or a trader or a $1,000 bill or a ruby or a big country, and you raise that pup in a bear pack, or you raise that pup in a lion pack,
that's what I'm going
you
for.
know
yeah.
what you're doing, then they're better.
Let's take the pack thing out of it. Pack things are excuses for people that have got 1 or 2 good dogs and then a bunch of other
those
dogs.
pack dogs.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So
I don't want a pack of pack dogs.
Deep and lonely.
I want all my dogs to be able to be lead dogs and pack when they need to.
Yes. Okay. So I think that's what we're missing here, Josh, is the translation from what people heard and what you actually said. But you're not saying that you could take $1,000 bill or a trader and take him to Arizona and track and tree lions as good as any dry ground land dog. That's not what you're saying.
If they're 5 years old and never seen a bear track or a lion track, no, absolutely not.
All right.
No.
Right, you can't transplant a dog.
No.
And say, it's going to be the best
You
dog.
mean their
It's
genetics are superior? That's what you
Yes.
mean for is puppy been raised as a puppy?
Genetically, they are superior.
Okay, why aren't big game guys buying all these competition puppies then?
They should. They should, and they have. That picture on that the picture that's on that cover that you done, Lauren.
Yeah,
that's a trader dog. That's in
figured.
Wyoming. Yeah, I mean that dog's out of trader, and that's an excellent lion dog.
Yeah. And I think that's where we get lost in the sauce. We get tunnel vision on, that's a competition bred dog. No, that's a dog that is bred for superior genetic capabilities. He's got certain genetic markers that make him a great dog.
Yeah.
And that's where I was coming at you. But as long as we agree that you can't take,
Oh, no, I couldn't take Duds out of my kennel right now and go put him on a lion track and expect him to excel. There's no way. The dog's been a coon dog all his life.
Right.
But
and he's not only been a coon dog, but he's been conditioned to behave in a certain way. He's had certain training that's backed all that up and made him excel in his arena. So
but another thing I want to say with that is, and I'm going to get beat up over this one too, I know. But our training and how we develop these dogs and how we get these dogs to be at their best is so much harder to do than training a dog to be a bear dog or a lion dog.
I disagree.
It is. Gotta be.
No.
Oh yeah.
No. I will die on this hill. I've done both, and there is when you look at both aspects of what the big game hunter is trying to achieve and what the competition coon hunter is trying to achieve, there is the same amount of effort. There is the same amount of concern. There is the same amount of discernment put into that, to developing that hound to his maximum capability.
I'm not saying,
regardless of whether it fits a scorecard or if it fits, on the mountain.
You misunderstand. I'm not saying it's harder for the handler or the trainer that he's putting in more effort, because he's not. I'm sure these lion guys and these bear dogs are working just as hard to get their dogs right as we are. I'm positive of that. It's a harder terrain. It's harder country. It's harder. I'm saying that the odds of a dog being good enough to do what I do and being good enough to do what they do, the difference is immense. It's a lot harder to get a dog to do what I want it to do than a dog to get what they want it to do as far as odds of getting one. Say you have 10 jazz pups, Chris, How many of them, if you take that same litter and you wanted to go win $100,000 with one litter, and you wanted to win 100 or go chase lions or bears with another, how many of those pups are going to make it? How many of them pups are going to go out there and be able to compete every week at the level that we want to compete at, versus how many of those would fit into a lion pack?
Well, you keep saying the word pack, and that's a problem.
Or how many would make a quality lion dog?
I want an excellent lion dog. I want an excellent bear dog. And I think you take all of those genetic factors and you bring them together to showcase and develop that. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm that bear that I'm going to catch next weekend is worth $100,000 to me.
Well, I'm not saying it's not. I'm not saying that the hunters don't love their side of that as much as we do or anything like that. I'm just saying an odds of a pup making a really good competition dog, and I'm talking elite.
They are the same.
I don't know.
They are.
I also think people have different ideas of what a good bear dog is too.
You're right.
So,
and that might be the key to this disconnect.
That may be.
And they also
okay, let me expand on that real quick before you move on. That may be the key to this disconnect, because we have a measuring device for Josh's ideal of what, but for me or for someone in Appalachia or in the Rocky Mountains that wants to catch a bear, there's no measuring device.
Yes, and that's one thing that's one thing that hurts big game dogs, is there's no competition really. I mean, you can't simulate that.
And I want to see that dog tree bears on its own, nothing else behind it, nothing helping it, nothing helping line it out when a loose.
That's the thing though. I mean, in today's age, well, it happened before today's age with social media. We all heard about these one dog bear packs and all this other stuff, and that's all in the way that it's marketed and all this other stuff. Who knows whether that's true or false. There have been one dog bear packs out there that can tree bears just like I take a dog out and I tree raccoons. But how good of a promoter are you? And that is huge. That's huge.
No, I mean, I'd love to be proved wrong. I want to see it, and I will. We'll go mountain lion hunting everywhere. I want to get down southwest and do some dry ground hunting and stuff. But I just think we've misconstrued how a dog translates the things that are coming through his nose and into his brain.
So that is a whole different topic, though.
No, it is.
I would love to. We need
Brains
to get together.
Is a big deal.
Do.
Brains is a big deal. Yeah.
The way I see it, and because this could be like a 4-hour discussion.
Let's do it.
But
people are still going to listen no matter how long this is.
We're not going to make it. We're not going to make another podcast next week. So,
I'm just saying that how a dog interprets what is coming through his nose is similar to the way. This is going to be hard to articulate, but it's similar to the way we read a book. It's similar to the way that we process information. He's just doing it through a different sense. Okay. And so when people say, well, it's a cold-nosed dog or it's a hot-nosed dog or it's a deal, my theory is that these dogs have decided, could Duds go and bang around and tree a cold track and trail it up in the wintertime? Yes, I've seen him do it. But as he got older and he got more mature, he understood what tracks he could handle quickly. He knows how he can process these things that are coming through his nose quicker than most dogs. So it's not a nose thing, it's a brains thing.
So you think people breeding cold-nosed dogs or hot-nosed dogs and people saying competition dogs are just hot-nosed dogs, you think that's not unless we can thing, it's a genetically brain thing.
Yes, unless we can definitely differ between. Now listen to me, Chris.
I'm listening.
How many? You're shaking your head over there.
I was shaking my head at Lauren.
But you can't tell me the olfactory senses are stronger in one line of walkers or to another line of walkers, or one line of blue ticks to another line of their olfactory sensors are basically pretty much the same. How they process that information is different.
Exactly. And that's exactly, I've talked about this on the podcast. I've done a whole podcast about it. I get in these debates all the time. The whole cold nose versus hot nose is not related to when you compare olfactory senses, when you take the turbinates
Like the
and
anatomy of it.
the measurement of the nasal plane, the turbinates that are in there, there is not even any measurable difference between a whatever the hottest hot-nosed considered dog is, Walker dog, as there was in the old Nance dogs. There isn't that much difference. It's a different genetic trait that comes down to drive, the willingness of a dog to interpret that scent, to think that they can catch what they are tracking. And when you look at cold nose and you look at hot nose, a lot of people don't even understand what they're looking at. They'll say, "Oh,
some of these
old
cold-nosed dogs are just dogs that can't run a freaking track."
That's exactly right. You get this old cold-nosed dog, and they're like, "Oh, he's cold-nosed. He's up there. He's really grubbing that out." Well, sometimes the truth is he doesn't have the brains to work out what is
exactly.
His nose and his mouth are writing checks that his ass can't cash.
Give me a dog that's smart enough to skip a track. In fairly thick
we'll
coons,
find something better.
Yeah, go get out there and find something that you can handle. And some of these dogs that are really good at that are what's winning.
That's okay. Yeah, you said the key thing. What's winning? But
yes.
If I'm a lion hunter in Southwest,
and there's
Arizona,
only one track,
and there's one track, and I've looked for 3 days to find that track, I need a dog with the olfactory sense and the brains and the drive to stick with that track and know that he can, and with the confidence that he can do it.
Yes, but he doesn't have a cold nose. He has a different way of doing things.
Yes.
And it's all geared. Yes,
it's no different than people.
And there's coonhounds like that. There's coonhounds that will take the first track they come to and they'll beat it to death and they'll tree it. And there's nothing wrong with those either. You know, those are fine.
It's not going to win you a lot of money.
Not in Sullivan, Indiana. Right. Not in Salem, Illinois. You know, not where there's a coon track every 400 yards and you can find a better one. No, that won't win you nothing. Yeah. And that also won't tree you as much game as far as the coon hunting side goes.
And as big game people, we don't want a dog quitting a track. Let's say it's a 12-hour-old bear track off a bait, and that's the only one we have to run today. We don't necessarily want that dog free casting then itself because it can't take that old track.
But what a lot of people don't understand is that we push these dogs when they're young and we encourage them to go find a better track. I mean, I've had a lot of Duds would beat you to death on a track when he was a year old. Con would do the same thing. Rain would do this. Bella was terrible. I've seen Bella run for 7-8 hours of a night and you can't get your hands on her and she won't finish this grubby track. And when you try to push her out, she comes back in. I mean, these dogs were that at one time. You know, we've made them either through breeding or through training. We've bred some of it too, but mostly through training, we've pushed these dogs out and we've encouraged them not to do that. So you can't tell me that I couldn't take Duds when he was young, when he had that natural tendency, and, you know, put him on a lion track and he knows that's the game that he's wanting to chase, then he wouldn't do that because he would.
So here's the difference. When Jazz was a pup, you know, I had her broke. When I turned her light on, she was a blue tick, and I'll take credit. I won't take credit for that, but somebody will. You know, the reputation. She's blue ticking tracks in there. She wanted to run tracks. She was a track dog first. And she would sit in there and she would grub. Well, I didn't want her sitting in there grubbing, so I broke her to the light on the collar. As soon as that light came on, I was in there and I was pushing her out. And then it got to the point when the light came on, then I would send her a stem and push her out. Okay, so you take that and you look back, and she would move out of there, and it was scent pools. I know what she was doing because she wouldn't go 200 yards, and she would be back. She'd have it sorted out and running it and lined out, and she'd have a treat, but she would get bogged down. So maybe it's a brain thing, maybe it was but she wanted to run it all. You take that same dog and you put it on a lion track, unless you're willing to get and this is a lot of what's technology has done for us, is we sit there and we look at our Garmin, instead of getting off our butts and getting out of the truck and getting in there and finding out and looking for tracks and different things. You know, we just take it for granted that the dog's bogging down.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a combination, and we're gonna do a podcast here in the near future. And I'm just going to throw this term out because I think it'll whet some people's appetite. But it's a concept called self-reward. Self-reward. A dog can learn to self-reward, and we're going to talk about
some of our problems with tree dogs are self-reward.
Yes, sir. And we're going
because the tree is the reward, and so some dog, that's why they tree too much.
That's right. And we're going to go in depth. I've got a trainer that's coming on with us, and we're going to talk about that. So, guys, I think
we didn't even hear about just quick recap for you.
Yeah, how was your year, Chris?
I'll tell you what my year was like. This was an amazing year for Houndsman XP.
We're not a rinky-dink podcast.
No, we are not. We are a top 40 podcast in the world for hunting podcasts. We are consistently there. I think one of the highlights of my year was adding the truth to the podcast platform and seeing how that has been so effective. And but we were hitting good numbers. I hate to burst your bubble, Josh, but we were hitting good numbers before you came along.
I just jumped on the bandwagon is all I did.
No, you've added tons, man. I mean, it's been awesome.
The truth's been great.
But we have put we had John Bolin on, who is formerly with the ASPCA. Mm-hmm. Man, that was a killer podcast.
That was fantastic.
But for me, looking big picture stuff, the most rewarding thing for me this year has been the listener support that we've gotten. And, the people, I still remember the early days, and I'll give a shout out to some people that hung in there with us. But you look at Melissa and Kenny Nash, who have been there with us since the beginning. And I still see them liking our posts and following us and commenting and adding to content.
Well, and sharing on the group and being engaging
Absolutely.
Followers.
Yeah. And not only them, but you take people like Luke Worthington and Becky and Cleve Dwyer. And I mean, the list goes, I'll miss people, and I'm not trying to exclude anybody, but Kevin and Nancy Hall, I mean, yeah, they're a sponsor but they're legit. I mean, they believe in what we're doing. And for me,
all our Patreon people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I was going to say, didn't want to cut you off, but all our patrons, thank you.
Scott Smith from Whitefish, Montana. I mean, that guy, he's been with us since the beginning. Larry Anderson, the list goes on and on. But we've built a culture, and seeing that all come together and seeing that pick up momentum, and knowing that this isn't about entertainment all the time. Sometimes we talk about tough stuff, but they've stuck with us. And those people that have stuck with us, and seeing that 2.5 years into this thing has been a huge thing for me. And so that's my highlight for 2021. I think a lot of times people think that maybe they don't understand all that goes into making this thing work. But the people that don't get enough recognition are on this podcast right now. And that's Seth and Lauren and Josh. Lauren is always out there. She's banging away at social media stuff and bringing us the current news and stuff from Wisconsin and wherever she can pick it up. I don't even know what all you listen to and what all you follow, Lauren, but every time I turn around, there's a new story on there about how hound hunting is threatened in this part of the world. And most people really believe, and that's what we always strive. We always made that our focus to strive for, was we are here to be that voice for the houndsman. And what you do with that, Lauren, when you bring that stuff and you post it on our Facebook page and our group, blasting it out there to however many people we got now, that's huge. And Seth, what you do with Patreon and keeping our patrons engaged and making them feel like they're part of it, because I really look at patrons as stockholders in this podcast. And you've got an investment in it. I wish we would hear more from you to let us know exactly what we need to do to improve this show, because you've got a major investment in what we do. That's more important to me than commercial sponsorship, is connecting with the individual houndsman out there that believes in what we do and how we do it. So,
and we're all, every single one of us, we're not just here, we're not just voices. Like, we're getting out there, we're practicing what we're preaching, we're all hunting really hard, and we're not just fakers.
right. We're not posers.
Yeah.
We're not talking about stuff that we've heard other people do or what we used to do.
Unless it's me with big game dogs.
Yeah.
One day, Josh. One day.
We need to.
That's right. If there's any dry ground hunters out there that want me to follow them around for a week, I would love to.
Yep.
You might have to get on a horse though, so I don't know how you're
gonna. I'm in good shape. I can walk.
He can walk.
I will walk.
He can walk.
I can walk.
Those mules are just plodding along.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
no
run
faster than those dogs go. I can keep up with them dogs.
You got it, dude. You got it.
Oh, Josh is calling you out.
That's right.
It sounds like you're trying to get an invite.
I am. I'll take one.
Seriously, that's been my highlight for the year, is watching Houndsman XP grow. I really can't point to any one episode or any one thing we did.
When the antis come after you, you're doing the right thing.
Oh man,
how about that?
That's a huge thing that we could spend a whole podcast, but we can't do it without giving the guy more props. So that's the thing. I'm not willing to do that, but yeah, we've weathered the storm this year, and we've got the greatest, most patriotic people involved. Everything from Freedom Hunters Hound Adventures have grown. I don't even know. I've talked to Anthony, but I'm always getting messages about Anthony sending me messages from Anthony Pace of Freedom Hunters saying, hey, we got this person that heard about this on the Houndsman XP podcast and they want to host an event. We're getting American warriors back out there in the field and reconnecting them with hunting. Those people all go on to the ballot box. Veterans vote. Okay. That's the message I want to let you know. Veterans vote. And if you want to make an impact at the grassroots level on political issues and stuff like that, take veterans hunting and show them a good time.
Well, and get out and vote yourself, because outdoorsmen, what Luke talked about, Luke Hilgeman, when we did
30%.
Yeah, about the outdoorsmen that are not voting, licensed hunters. Like, are you kidding me?
And find an organization. Find an organization that's helping coon hunters or helping houndsmen or any kind of hunting, or multiple organizations, and be a part of them. Be a member. Yes. Be proactive.
Yep. So that's my year. I appreciate everybody that is supporting us and listening. I really support our patrons, but the special place in my heart is for the people in this podcast right now. I appreciate every one of you.
Thank you.
The things that you guys do to keep the wheels on the Houndsman XP. I couldn't do it all by myself.
I enjoy working with all you guys.
Ditto. Yeah, it's been fun.
You might think otherwise, but
yeah. So
no, I feel the same way.
We'll get the Love Fest wrapped up here, but Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to everyone. Ditto. Each one of you and your families. I hope you have a great Christmas this week. Enjoy some time hunting and spend it with the family. I mean, if for me, bear season is still going on, but I got to stay close to home this week. I enjoy that. I enjoy spending time with my family and that whole preparation for Christmas and things like that. And dogs will be fine this week. That's just my personal thing. But
you can always go tree one in the backyard real quick.
Don't sacrifice your family for hunting.
Amen.
It's not worth it in the long run. And be aware of what's going on around you. And I just choose to stay home this week and spend time with my wife and my family. So that's me.
Good call.
Yep. Well, hey, I appreciate you guys. This is a long one. It's 2 hours long. People ought to be happy with a long podcast. But
we could have kept going too. We had to call it.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
I got stuff. I got stuff.
We'll have like two or three more rounds of this episode. So
that'd be great.
Merry Christmas, y'all. We
Merry
appreciate
Christmas, everybody.
Yep. And until next time, you follow your hounds and I'll follow mine.